I love that people told a little bit of their history before they got into it, where they came from, some of the stuff that they came from. My name is Joel Henderson. I'm originally from Estevan, Saskatchewan. I moved to Regina for family. I moved here to kind of get closer to my brother and my dad at the time. But I grew up in Estevan. My mom, she was in a family of seven kids and two. And my grandpa, he used to work in the coal mines. And so my mom, she, when I asked her what childhood was like, she just used to say things like, "Oh, I liked to play ball, but I got to play every other year." And I was like, "Why?" She said, "Because we only had one glove. And we had to share it. So they got to play one year and I got to play the next year." And so I'm sure there's a lot of people, if your parents in this room, you kind of grew up with this mentality as my mom did, which was, I want to make sure that my kids have every opportunity under the sun to be able to do some of the things that maybe I didn't get to do. And that was my mom. And I didn't think that I would ever travel. I didn't think I would ever do anything like this. I have a degree in youth work, so I do that on the side, and I figured that was going to kind of be my life. And when I was 19, I started to write songs. I was in college. Shortly after that, I took courses, and I really fell in love with it. And I found that songwriting and storytelling was such a beautiful way to connect with people. One of my favorite artists, her name is Maggie Rogers. She's really blossomed the last couple of years. And one of the ways that she talks about music is she says that it's a beautiful privilege that you get to be present, you get to hear what's happening in the world, and then you get to respond back. And so it's a sense of representation. It's here's the things that I'm hearing, here's the things that I'm feeling, and then it's just, you get to send it out. I started playing music in Regina. I put out an album in 2013, and I thought, this is amazing. Everybody's going to come. I'm going to be a superstar. I didn't think that. And I put on my show, and there was about 22 people there, I think. And my mom came, and she sat in the front row, and she was really proud. And for the next couple years, I really tried to go after music, and I found that it was very, very difficult. And after a number of very vulnerable experiences that didn't go how I thought it was, I managed to meet somebody that really changed my life, and that was my manager and my label, who is in Calgary. She is somebody who dreams bigger than I do. And so there's a few years ago, I'd never been overseas in my entire life. I'd played some stuff around Canada, but mostly in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And she said, "We have to take your music to the world." And there was a girl that I was starting to get to know. She lived in BC, and she said, "When are you going to come and visit me?" And I said, "I'm going to come and see you in September." She's like, "For sure?" And I said, "No." I said, we've applied for me to play this festival in Germany, and it's a really big deal if I get in." And she said, "What are the chances that you're going to get into that?" And I was like, "I got no chance." So she's like, "So you're going to come?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I got in. So I got to tell her that. And then later on, a couple months later, she was like, "Are you really serious about getting to know me?" And I said, "Totally." And she was like, "Are you going to come and see me?" And I said, "Uh-huh." And she's like, and I said, "Except I've applied to play at a festival in Australia, and if I get in, I'm going to go to that." And she's like, "What are the chances?" And I said, "I'm not going to get in." And I got into both of those, and I'm not with her now, as you can expect. But the first opportunity I got to go overseas, I took my manager with me, and as well a PR person, and we went to Germany for the first time. And it's interesting how someone talked about music tonight, and how there's little moments where you really feel at home even though you're away from home. I was planning on playing a bunch of songs, and there was one song that I really love, and the artist is from Europe, and I thought, I wonder if they'll know them. It's a song, it's called "Somebody That I Used to Know" by Gaudier. And I was like, I wonder if it's if they hate it here, or if they love it, if it gets played at all. And we landed in the airport, and the first song that I heard coming out of the airport was Gaudier. And I went, "Oh, okay. They at least know it." The first place that we stayed, and this is now my favorite story. The first place that we stayed was this Airbnb. I did not do any of the booking or any of the planned travel of this. I am not good at those things. My manager and label is. She came with me. She booked all of the places we were going to stay, all the things that we were going to do. I just needed to perform. And I was performing at a big festival in Germany called Reeperbahn. And it's a huge, prestigious festival. It's one of the biggest showcasing festivals in Europe. You go there and the room is filled with industry people, managers and high labels and booking agents, people that can do business with you and for you. It's one of the most intimidating things that I am constantly a part of, and I love it now. But at the time, I was so out of my element. And we got to the place that we were staying. It was this Airbnb, and we got to it, and outside waiting for us was this woman named Karla. Karla was about 40 years old. She was the owner of the Airbnb. Karla owned the bar downstairs, and then she owned the flat upstairs on the second floor. And Karla was a flirtatious woman. And when we met her, she was outside making origami peace doves. I don't have much to say about Karla, but these, I feel like, give you a picture of who she was. So she's flirting with me while she's making her doves. And so we go upstairs, and right before she unlocks the door to the Airbnb, she turns to me, looks at me, and says, "Oh, by the way, I used to own a burlesque house." And I said, "Okay." I don't know how that has to do with now. Okay. She opened the door and we went inside, and the whole decor of this flat was burlesque. There was feather boas on the walls. Everything was themed like 1920s. And there were naked women on the coasters, which was a thing that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting any of it. But so this was home. First time overseas, before one of the biggest opportunities I've had in my entire life. And Karla's like, "Welcome." And so there were 2 rooms in this place. One I gave to my publicist, and the other one my manager took. And then right above that, there was a little loft above that bed, and that was where I was going to sleep. And Karla looks at me and she goes, "Are you going to stay in the loft?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, no, you come home with me." And I said, "Karla, you're so nice." No, thank you. I think I'm good here. And so this was home. And we kind of got settled in over those few days. But one of the things that I did was I would get up every morning before the other 2 ladies, and I would go outside the small kitchen to the really small balcony outside of the small kitchen. And I would sit and I'd make a little French press coffee, and I would sit out there and just relax. And that, to me, those 10, 15 minutes in the morning before they got up, before anything was happening, before the world started to get crazy, I sat out there by myself. And it actually makes me think of hockey stories and athletes, because one of the stories I found the most fascinating is when you talk to athletes about, like, if they're nervous to go and play the big game, they'll tell you, "I just want to get on the field. I just want to get on the ice. I just want to get there. Because when I'm there, I feel at home. I know what to do when I'm there. But when I'm in the locker room, when I'm in beforehand, when I'm driving there, that's when I'm nervous. I just want to get to where I feel home." And that was how I felt about my trip. And before the craziness started, I found a place that I found home on my trip. And I ended up coming home and I ended up writing this song. It's called Second Floor Balcony. Barely enough room for potted plants on a table. I wouldn't classify these as garden tomatoes. 4x8 with a rusted railing is where I contemplate all my failing, walking on someone's roof, living under someone's feet. I found peace on a second floor balcony. I carry my weight, paying half of the rent, and my light-headed wallet says it's double than I'd like to spend. With a fresh pressed coffee and a crossword puzzle, a front row sunset seems worth the trouble. Walking on someone's roof, living under someone's feet. I found peace on a second floor. I found peace on a second floor balcony. Every morning I debate, dusting off my worn suitcase. And do I hang up picture frames? Do I learn all of my neighbors' names? Oh, 'cause I'm walking on someone's roof, living under someone's feet. I found peace on a second floor. I found peace on a second floor. Walking on someone's roof, living under someone else's feet. Oh, I found peace on a second floor. I found peace on a second floor. I found peace on a second floor balcony. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I do also want to say I've never been able to come to one of these events, and because I'm usually out of town for different reasons, and I always kick myself for missing it. So thanks so much for asking me to be a part of this one. I appreciate it.